critics are arriving too. Gene Siskel arrives at the ceremony and tips the driver lavishly. And as the block-long limousines pull up, a subway train longer than a limousine delivers Roger Ebert. No one knows who will win this year's Oscars, but Ebert and Siskel know who they would choose. Join them in a special At the Movies presentation, Ebert and Siskel, If We Pick the Oscars. Ebert and Siskel give their choices for the Oscars in a special At the Movies presentation, Ebert and Siskel, If We Pick the Oscars.
Well, you get there any way you can. Let Paul Newman take the limo.
Right.
It's our annual Oscar special. I'm Gene Siskel, film critic of the Chicago Tribune.
And I'm Roger Ebert, film critic of the Chicago Sun-Times. It's become an annual tradition for movie critics to predict who they think the Oscar winners are going to be every year, but we're going to break with that tradition again this year by giving you not our predictions, but our choices as critics in the major categories, who we'd vote for if we had a ballot, if we picked the Oscars.
Because otherwise all we're doing is just reinforcing what these 4,100 people who belong to the Academy are going to do, and we're going to find that out, you know, on Monday night, so why, you know...
Yeah, and besides, we know more than they do. So we're also going to give you our choices for actors and actresses who were not nominated, the ones that Oscar left out. We're also going to look at and listen to the 5 best song nominees, and a special category all of our own, the stinkers of the year, the worst, most undeserved, or most ill-informed Oscar nominations. But first, Gene starts with the best actor category.
And unlike the Oscar telecast, you don't have to wait forever to get to the big categories on our show. We start right off with Best Actor, and I wish they did too. The nominees for Best Actor are F. Murray Abraham, a New York stage actor in his first movie starring role, playing both young and old versions of the jealous court composer Salieri in the Mozart tribute Amadeus.
That was not Mozart laughing, Father. That was God. That was God laughing at me through that obscene giggle.
Jeff Bridges, a visitor from another planet in human form in Starman, the only actor from a non-serious film to be nominated this year.
Do deer eat people?
No.
Do people eat people?
No, of course not. What do you think we are?
I think you are a very primitive species.
Albert Finney, playing a suicidal drunk in Under the Volcano. This is the kind of tear-up-the-scenery performance that Hollywood always loves at Oscar time.
I say, what's the matter here?
Nothing. Absolutely all right.
All right? But you were lying down in the middle of the road.
All right, just the same. Thank you very much.
Tom Hulce, the enfant terrible Mozart in Amadeus, a first nomination for the young actor in his first serious film. He previously had a role in Animal House.
Forgive me, Majesty. I'm a vulgar man. But I assure you, my music is not.
Sam Waterston, playing a New York Times reporter, Sidney Shanberg, in The Killing Fields, a true story about the friendship between a reporter and his Cambodian assistant.
They think that a lot of people are going to get killed. A lot of people. All right, I've arranged for the evacuation of you and your family. So now it's up to you. What do you want to do? Do you want to stay or do you want to leave?
And now, your choice, and I have it right here, your envelope.
Okay, it's my choice if I were picking the best actor.
Let's see how you voted. Let's see if I can open the envelope.
Some remedial envelope.
F. Murray Abraham, Amadeus.
Well, that's
Take a look at mine.
Interesting. Let's see, you voted for Gene's vote. I'm better at opening the envelope than you are. And you also voted for F. Murray Abraham, the same choice in this category. My choice for the year's best actor would be F. Murray Abraham, whose performance as Salieri, Mozart's jealous rival in Amadeus, spans a lot of years. He plays Salieri not only as a young man, but also as an old man with a lot of bitter memories. But His performance also spans a remarkable emotional range, because this man's jealousy is combined with such a deep knowledge of music and such a love of music that he has a special fate. Much as he envies Mozart, Salieri is one of the few men of his time who knew enough to know how good Mozart really was.
Astounding. It was beyond belief. These were first and only drafts of music. But they showed no corrections of any kind. Not one. He had simply written down music already finished in his head. Page after page of it, as if he were just taking dictation.
Now there he is as a young man, and there he is as an old man. It's interesting that he looks like two very different people, but look at the eyes there, look at the hands. He's now so old that almost all of his passions are behind him now. He doesn't even really feel the anger for Mozart anymore. All he remembers is the beauty of that music, a beauty that is stronger even than his own jealousy. It's a wonderful performance.
Phrase, and the structure would fall.
That's a beautiful scene. And you know, it probably would have been fairly easy to make Salieri into a heavy, into a guy whose anger and jealousy really dominated the character, but there's so much more there. There's so much three-dimensional human being there that I think we really identify with him more than we do with Mozart.
Well, sure. Most of us are not great composers. I think that what I like about it, you could see right in that scene and why he got my vote. He's just playing from, you know, sort of the chest up in there and doing all this with making those characters alive. And think of him on the soundstage there. He's not playing to Tom Hulce as Mozart. He's simply playing to music. Maybe background music is being played back, and he's creating it just with not a lot to work with, hands, eyes, bodies, totally convincing as two separate characters. He gets my vote.
It's a wonderful performance. Now let's try something a little bit different on our Oscar special this year. We're going to approach the Best Actor category again now, but from a slightly different angle. We're going to do something else. We're going to talk about who Oscar forgot about, who should have been nominated in this category, but wasn't. And my own choice for Best Actor nominee, who was left out, would be Harry Dean Stanton, who stood at the center of a strange and brilliant movie named Paris, Texas. Stanton played a man who had lost everything, his wife, his child, even his memory, and then he tried to put everything back together again.
What are you looking for?
I'm looking for the father.
Your father?
No, just a father. Any father. What does a father look like?
There are many different kinds of fathers, Senor Travis.
Well, I just need one.
You think you're going to find him in there?
Well, I don't know where else to look.
Oh, I see. You want to look like a father.
Yeah.
All right, tell me, do you want to be a rich father?
No.
A poor one?
No.
Pues como pues?
In between.
No. There is no in between, huh? You either have to be a rich father or a poor one.
Rich.
Harry Dean Stanton has been in more than 50 movies as a character actor. This is his career peak as a leading actor, and I thought it was really a good performance.
I enjoyed him as much as anything in the film. My choice comes out of something that bugs me about the Oscars every single year, and that is that the Academy's members often ignore films that were big box office failures, assuming that nothing in them is worthy of honor. They just forget it. It was a bomb, so everything must have been lousy in it. And that accounts for the fact that Sergio Leone's superb epic gangster film, Once Upon a Time in America, a box office bust both in its short and long versions, did not receive a single Oscar nomination. That's unforgivable. Of all the nominations it should have received, the one I thought it deserved the most was Robert De Niro's lead performance as the young and old gangster called Noodles. De Niro, in this double role, like Salieri, gives us the full arc of a human life.
I thought you were the guy that said you didn't like bosses. It sounded like a good idea then. It still is.
Let's just think about it, Noodles. They're going to ask us to come in with them. There's a lot in it for us.
Today they ask us to get rid of Joe. Tomorrow they ask me to get rid of you. Is that okay with you? Because it's not okay with me.
You know, I saw Robert De Niro on the night of 100 Stars. He just came out for a second there, standing next to Sir Laurence Olivier, and I showed his film clips, and I thought, what a magnificent career at such a young age, and I put the character in this film along with the other ones that he's played. How he doesn't get a nomination, it's only because the film was a failure, right?
I think that's the only thing. It's box office. First you make a box office hit. Second, it helps if you're in the last 6 months of the year so they can remember it without having to go back 9, 10, 11 months into the distant past, and then you get the nomination. Next at the movies, we're going to look at the Best Actress category. Our next category is for the year's Best Actress, and there's only one new face among this year's finalists, Judy Davis from Australia. The other nominees have all been around a lot at Oscar time. All 4 are former Academy Award winners, and among them, they have 15 nominations over the years. The nominees are Judy Davis, who played a naive young British girl whose charges of attempted rape divided the British community, created a scandalous controversy in A Passage to India.
I finally decided we're not going to be married.
Sally Field, who played a sheriff's widow in Texas during the Depression and Places in the Heart, and after her husband's death, she was determined to make a success of the cotton crop and save the farm.
Like I haven't ever done anything all my life but raise kids and take care of this house.
Jessica Lange was an Iowa farm wife in Country, a movie about modern-day farm problems, including federal loans that couldn't be repaid after several bad crop years in a row.
They wouldn't make us do that, would they, Gil? We're not going to sell the land. This land's been in my family for over 100 years.
You owe them the money. It's their money.
Vanessa Redgrave played a 19th century feminist in The Bostonians, competing against a man for the loyalty of a young woman that she thought could be a great leader in the movement for equality between the sexes.
Fierce ideas. Tomorrow we'll be alone and we'll talk and talk. Just you and I.
And in The River, the third of this year's movies about brave farm women, Sissy Spacek played the wife of a Tennessee farmer whose land was threatened by the floodwaters of a nearby river.
I'm sorry, Beth. I tried. I should have called the vet, but we owe him so much. I just couldn't face him.
And let's see who you voted for in this category. I have Gene's envelope.
Watch those paper cuts.
And you voted for Vanessa Redgrave.
Yeah, I'm picking Vanessa Redgrave because I thought it was an original characterization that I couldn't fault the whole movie through. This is not like so many of the Save the Farm women, a one-note character with a single problem to solve, save that farm. In The Bostonians, Redgrave plays an uptight feminist determined to win a young woman to her cause, a young woman trained in the art of public speaking. Now, is she interested in her sexually as well as politically? I don't know, and I don't think Redgrave's character knows either. And Redgrave doesn't let us know, best of all, even in this bedroom scene.
I hope with all my heart you never marry, but not because you promised me.
Now, this is something she cares very deeply about here, but look at the soft tone that she's taking. An interesting choice. She's going to be talking here about something that she cares very much, and she's giving a smile here. This is dead serious to her, and yet she's telling it with a smile, and I think it's because her character is so alienated from herself that she really doesn't understand the emotions that she's feeling. She doesn't understand about her feelings toward this woman. She is very hyped up about her feelings toward men. It's a confused character, and so we see the confusion in the selection by Vanessa Redgrave, a terrific actress giving another terrific performance.
It is a good performance, and I think you put your finger on one of the best things about it, which is that all through the movie there's something going on that Vanessa Redgrave doesn't know about. I think that essentially she's a lesbian and doesn't know she's a lesbian and may not even know what lesbians are, and so it causes her to be a little bit confused in her relationship with that woman. But I would not choose her in this category as the best actress. So you can open that envelope and find out exactly who my choice would be.
Jessica Lange.
That's right. My choice would be Jessica Lange, and the reason I think is that she does more with less than the other finalists do in this category. Her character is closer to real life than the others. She has the least melodramatic role, the least showy, the closest to the bone. You could almost feel the grit in that country woman that she plays. Look at this scene from the movie Country, where Lange and her family have been grazing some sheep that are an asset one of their friends, another farmer, has been trying to hide from the government. Then federal agents arrive to confiscate the sheep.
Well, now, McMullen, this is our land. You can't just pull in here like God Almighty.
Now, Joel,
I think the reason that I really like Jessica Lange in this movie is because she is trying to play an actual woman who might live on a farm in Iowa, and that's what she's doing in this scene. I think that the other two Save the Farm movies have actresses who are playing movie characters in a melodramatic situation, and this is much more of a slice of life. It seemingly gives her less to work with, and yet there she is looking just like a 4-H mom who's suddenly been pulled away from the nice routine of the farm and thrown into this crisis, and she is standing up to it because she is stubborn and she knows what's right. And I think, you know, every year they say, gee, it'd be great if all of the nominees could play the same role, then we could see who's really best. Well, we have 3 nominees this year playing essentially the same role, and with all due respect to Sissy Spacek and Sally Field, who I also admired in their performances this year, I think Jessica Lange wins that particular contest.
But my problem with that scene specifically is that I thought she looked like a very pretty woman, which she is, wearing great clothes that were not unkempt from L.L. Bean. I couldn't believe her. I believed her in other scenes. I didn't believe her in that scene.
Well, she looked a little more rough and ready in some of the other scenes.
I think so.
I concede you that tiny little point.
Thank you. And you know, you never hear that on the Oscars. Somebody saying, yeah, that's not a bad idea. They're always trying to top each other. Okay, now let's go on and take a look at our overlooked nominations, the people that deserved one but didn't get them in the Best Actress category. And it's been said before, I think, but probably the biggest mistake that the Academy voters make year after year is the way they ignore lighter fare, comedies, action pictures, you name it. This year's biggest casualty, to my mind, in the Best Actress category is that Kathleen Turner wasn't nominated for her performance in the romantic comedy Romancing the Stone. I don't know what more an actress can do with a role. She plays her homebody novelist character straight, then she plays her funny, then she plays her scared, and she goes on a very real adventure in South America, and then there's the romance with Michael Douglas. An amazing big performance. Now here is a sample of her being scared all alone in the South American jungle, and there's no payphone to be found for this city slicker.
Please, I need your help.
That's my new career, huh?
It's very...
Lady.
I'll pay you. You don't understand. It's a matter of life and death. If I don't get to my...
How much?
$50?
No.
Well, you said you just lost everything you owned.
Not my sense of humor.
I think the only reason she was ignored because it was a light film. Everything an actress has to do is in that film.
And every time that you talk to an actor or an actress, they will tell you it's harder for them to play comedy than for them to play tragedy, but then when it comes time for the Oscars, they take the serious pictures. And here, can I make a choice in this category?
No, one second.
Can't. Okay.
No, because look at this. You think, well, it's the Academy as a whole that's making the decision. Wrong.
It's the actors themselves.
The actors branch themselves that nominates, and they don't know.
And I will now
They jump on their own kind.
Down, Gene. You're right, though. You're right. I'm going to give you a comic nomination that I think was also overlooked. One nominee I would have liked to see nominated in this category is Mia Farrow, who did a wonderful job of playing a brassy mobster's girl in the Woody Allen comedy Broadway Danny Rose. Now, the performance was completely unlike anything Farrow had ever done before, and yet every nuance in this movie was so perfect, it was hard to recognize her. When she first came on the screen in those dark glasses, who is that? Can't be Mia Farrow. I know she's in this movie. Where is she? Here she is in another scene trying to get a new agent for her lover, who is a mob-connected nightclub singer.
Well, guys, we finally made it. Lou Canova, Sid Bacharach, Sid, Miss Lou.
Pleasure, Mr. Bacharach. Truly a pleasure.
Nah, I've only heard wonderful things about you from my girl, Tina.
Terrific.
She says that all the time.
No, you remember Lou from the 50s? He's got it.
I remember tossing and turning.
Really? Yeah, that thing on Perfidia, too.
Now, I understand you already have representation.
Yeah, I do.
He's loyal to a guy. He means well, but he can't seem to move him.
Now, one of the award shows that we have very little respect for is the Golden Globes, but at least they do have a category for comedy, and maybe that's the only way that some of these performances can get any recognition at all.
I think that is a possible solution, although I would rather have them recognize it themselves and not do that little cheat there. Coming up next, our choice for the best song of the year. The next category on our Oscar special, Best Song. And over the years, the music branch of the Academy has caught a lot of grief for being populated by a bunch of old fogies who refuse to acknowledge the authenticity of popular music. While there have been some rule changes and membership changes in the last couple of years, and the changes are reflected in earnest this year with 5 very popular and quite enjoyable songs being nominated. Here they are. Okay, let's hear it now for Roger's choice. And it is the one we just heard. Let's hear it for the boy from Footloose.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Take a look at mine.
Look at your vote. Okay.
You bet.
And you also vote for Let's Hear It for the Boy from Footloose, and that was sung by Denise Williams, and that was a movie, by the way, that I voted thumbs down on when we reviewed it on the program. I didn't think it was the world's greatest film, but I did like this particular musical sequence with Kevin Bacon as a big city teenager teaching Christopher Penn, a small-town boy, how to rock and roll. One of the reasons I like that scene is that it uses the music as part of the story. There's not just a song there played over the opening credits, or what I used to call the semi-obligatory lyrical interlude, which is a way to get the so-called hit into the movie so that it could sell millions of copies.
As they walk along the beach.
Right, exactly. Go down to the cemetery and feed the swans. This scene helps develop the story and the characters, and it's a good song.
It's a terrific song, and it does move the story along. This is why music was put into movies, to do this sort of thing, and it's joyful. I mean, the audience starts tapping their toes, and we're learning, and we're seeing this character grow up a little bit. A perfect choice. Obviously, I made it. Coming up next at the movies, our choices for the Best Supporting Actress. Our next category on our Oscar special is Best Supporting Actress. And it wasn't a very good year for actresses in any category, and some very small performances were nominated this year in the Supporting Actress category. Here are the nominees. Peggy Ashcroft as the free-spirited Mrs. Moore, visiting India for the first time and entranced by it in A Passage to India.
I suppose, like many old people, I sometimes think we are merely passing figures in a godless universe. Get me some water.
Glenn Close, small role here, playing the ethereal love of Robert Redford in The Natural. Always bathed in white light, she's sort of the good fairy of this picture.
You know, I believe we have two lives.
What do you mean?
The life we learn with, and the life we live with after that.
Another small role, Lindsay Krause, playing Sally Field's sister in Places in the Heart, one of many people in this Texas town dealing with a marital problem.
What about you?
Like you notice.
I noticed.
Wayne, we gotta go. Everybody's waiting. Wayne, you go.
Christine Lottie had one of the year's best supporting roles, one of the juiciest, as Goldie Hawn's friend and neighbor and co-worker in the wartime drama Swing Shift.
That dress looks ridiculous. It does? We'll work on it. I'll fix you up. And... Hey! Woo! I'm getting it!
And the last nominee, Geraldine Page, she had only a couple of scenes, but what great scenes they were in The Pope of Greenwich Village, defending her dead son's memory against corrupt police officers.
My brother's a priest. He is an old-fashioned parish priest with gray hair. The two of us could do a scene on the 6 o'clock news would have this city in tears.
And now let's see who we would vote for if we had a ballot. These are not our predictions, by the way, but this is who we'd vote for. And you picked Dame Peggy Ashcroft in A Passage to India.
And you picked Dame Peggy Ashcroft in A Passage to India. We're having a lot of agreement.
I think one of the reasons why we might be agreeing in this category, it's a good role, obviously, but I think the size of the role can vary widely in the supporting actress category. You know, some critics thought it was a lead performance and gave her some critics awards in the lead category. So it's really tough because they're not only are they playing different roles, but they're playing different size supporting roles.
And she did a real good job of playing her role in A Passage to India. She's my choice because of the way she supplies a quiet, civilized center to a film that is filled with emotions and passion otherwise. She may not seem to have a key role at first when you're looking at the film, but actually she does, because here is a movie about suspicion and mistrust between the Indians and the British, about failed attempts to communicate between those races and the deeply ingrained racism of the British community, the hysteria that results when a British woman claims she was sexually assaulted by an Indian man. And at the center of this tornado stands Mrs. Moore, the character played by Peggy Ashcroft, a woman who is so sweet and so innocent and so positive that sometimes seems like she's the only character in the whole movie who can see everybody clearly, and through her eyes we can see them clearly too. She's gone out to India as a companion for her son's fiancé, and in this scene she and her son are having tea.
I do not see why you all behave so unpleasantly to these people.
We're not out here to be pleasant.
Rodney, what do you mean?
India isn't a drawing room. We're out here to do justice and to keep the peace. I'm not a missionary or a sentimental socialist. I'm just a member of the civil service.
As simple as that.
What does you and Adela want me to do? Sacrifice my career? Lose the power I have for doing good in this benighted country?
Good. Now, speaking about power, the whole of this entertainment is an exercise in power and the subtle pleasures of personal superiority.
There's one test of a movie performance that some people pass, some people fail. Maybe it's not so meaningful. That is, can you remember the character's name? And immediately after, Mrs. Moore, you remember her, and in a way it's because of Dr. Aziz.
Yes, the name is repeated.
Mrs. Moore, she's such a wonderful
You know, you
woman.
said sweet, and I think I would just challenge on one thing.
Okay.
This is a pretty tough bird here, and I like the fact that she plays this character not as a sweet, doddering old lady, and isn't she cute and all this. This is somebody who has some very definite thoughts about what she's seeing. She is more aware of what's going on, just as you said, that anyone else who's
Okay, then maybe I
India.
shouldn't have said sweet, maybe I should have said good. She is good-hearted. And unfortunately, there's one scene that's missing in the movie, and that is the scene explaining why she leaves India. Every time I see the film, and I've seen it 3 times, I want to know why she does that. But then, of course, there's the great scene on board the ship to make up for that. Next at the movies, the Best Supporting Actor category. If We Were Picking the Oscars continues with the Best Supporting Actor category, and the nominees include Adolph Caesar, who played a tough black Army master sergeant in A Soldier Story in the wartime South. He was a man who was ashamed of other blacks who he thought didn't project a proper image.
You trying to mock me, CJ?
No, Sir Sarge.
Good. Because whatever an ignorant, low-class geechee like you has to say ain't worth paying attention to.
John Malkovich, a poor blind man, becomes a boarder on Sally Field's farm in Places in the Heart and ends up discovering new courage inside himself and becoming like a member of the family.
Possum! It's okay.
Pat Morita in The Karate Kid played a wise and gentle old handyman who became the friend of a teenage boy and taught him some of the secrets of karate and of life.
Miyagi ancestor called karate, empty hand.
I always thought he came from Buddhist temples and stuff like that.
You're too much TV.
Hang S. Nor from The Killing Fields played the Cambodian translator and assistant for a New York Times correspondent, a man who stayed behind in Cambodia only to become a prisoner of the Khmer Rouge.
You love my family, Sini. But me, I'm reporter too, Sini.
Sir Ralph Richardson in Greystoke played the patriarch of an old English family, welcoming back the grandson he thought was dead. A grandson also known as Tarzan.
Oh, welcome home, Johnny. Can't help saying it over and over. Welcome home, Johnny.
And, Gene, I guess I have your vote here in this category. And you would select Gene's choice, Adolf Caesar for A Soldier's Story.
Exactly right. Although I admire Hang S. Noor's performance very much, I can't vote for him in the supporting category. He doesn't belong in the supporting category. It's a lead role, a co-starring role. He's on screen almost as much time as Sam Waterston, and I'd rather penalize him than the other 4 nominees against him. I'm basing my choice, therefore, on that old philosophy principle known as the greatest good for the greatest number. This is the first time and only time that Jeremy Bentham will ever be mentioned on an Oscar special. God bless him. And so, of the legitimate supporting roles nominated, Adolf Caesar gets my vote, conveying a powerhouse character in limited amounts of screen time. He's probably the most powerful character of any played all year, the kind of theatrical, but still absolutely realistic character that we rarely find in the movies. Here he bullies one of his all-black troops, a simple country kid.
Oh, you think he's innocent, huh? C.J. Memphis. Playing cotton picker. Singing the blues. Bowing and scraping, smiling in white folks' faces. This man undermined us. You and me. Everybody. That Yassa boss is hiding something. Are we like that today? In 1944? He shot that white boy. What did you go and do now, boy?
He's absolutely riveting. When he's on screen, the movie comes alive. When he's off screen, frankly, the movie isn't as good.
I thought he was the best thing in the movie. In fact, I felt that The Soldier's Story was his story and not the story of the 2 people who are kind of presented as the leads, and we'll get into that in a minute. But first, I want to have you look at my vote, because I don't think I agree with you in this category.
You probably know that.
I know I did.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Okay. Yes, Hang S. Noor. You went
Hang
for the
S.
leading
Noor.
role.
No matter what your objection is, I can't argue with you on the issue of supporting actors versus leading actor, but I will say that of the actors nominated in this category, my choice for the Oscar would be Hang S. Noor for The Killing Fields. Every once in a while, a role comes along for which the character and the actor are perfectly suited, not just because of acting ability, although that's important, but also because of things that have happened in real life to these people. Look at Harold Russell, the handicapped veteran. He had no hands, who was nominated for the best years of our lives. I don't think he ever acted again, but I don't think that anybody will ever forget that great performance. And Hang S. Noor is absolutely convincing during every moment that he's on the screen in The Killing Fields. He's convincing as a man who is not just a sidekick, not just a buddy, but a man who has the courage to live in dangerous times and to make the right decisions. Here he is saying goodbye to his partner right before the evacuation of Cambodia.
I'm reporter too, Morgan. I know his heart. I love him like my brother. And I do anything for him. Anything. Goodbye. Tell my wife I love her and look after all my children. She doesn't speak any English, Sydney.
Now, it's interesting that some people have criticized that performance on the grounds that he's only playing himself.
Right.
The funny thing is that being in a movie is such an alienating experience with hundreds of technicians around and the camera right there. If you can only play yourself, you're better than 99% of the actors who we see.
Well, okay, that's
most
good.
movies.
And I'll go the other way. There are tons of people who, when asked to play themselves in a movie, would look ridiculous.
That's
so
right.
he actually is acting, and he would get my award. I'll tell you what, he might get my award if he were in the lead category, although I'd still vote for F. Murray Abraham, but he would be considered. It's that good a performance. My objection is just on the category.
Just on the screen time.
So I'm really angry at the Academy, again, that actors branch, more than I am at
well,
Dr.
what they do,
Hangesdorf.
I think it's politics, Gene. They say he doesn't have a chance in the Best Actor category. We'll put him in the category where he can win, and I think he probably will, and I think that, given your footnote aside, he deserves to. So there.
Okay, all right. Well, coming up next, our choices for Best Picture, and then a little later on, the worst nominations of the year.
Now we come to the top prize every year in the Oscar sweepstakes, the Best Picture of the Year. The finalists include Amadeus, the story of the musical genius Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart and his lifelong rival and jealous admirer, Antonio Salieri. The movie starred Tom Hulce as the great composer. Killing Fields, the story of a New York Times correspondent in Southeast Asia and the Cambodian who became his assistant and his best friend. A Passage to India, based on the classic novel about an English woman whose arrival in India begins a chain of events that dramatizes the underlying racism of British imperialism.
But they all become exactly the same. I give any Englishman 2 years.
The women are worse?
I give them 6 months.
Places in the Heart, about a young widow who works with a black sharecropper and a blind war veteran to plant a cotton crop and save the family farm. And a soldier story about a murder case involving a group of black soldiers on a training base in the South during World War II. And maybe have the envelope, please, and find out what Gene's vote is in this category.
Gee, I've already opened yours.
Yours open before I did.
Right.
You voted for Amadeus for Best Picture.
And so did you.
No surprise.
My pick is Amadeus because of all the films nominated, I think this film goes after the most tricky targets. The subjects are art and genius and the pursuit of creativity, all difficult subjects to film. And one of the most beautiful moments in Amadeus fuses all of these themes when we see the jealous composer Salieri finally break down in the face of Mozart's overwhelming genius and help him compose his Mass on his deathbed.
Now the orchestra. Second bassoon and bass trombones with the basses. Identical notes and rhythm.
Identical?
Of course. The instruments doubling the voices. Now, trumpets and timpani. Trumpets in D.
No.
Listen to me.
I don't understand.
Listen. Trumpets in D. Tonic and dominant. First and third beats. It goes with the harmony.
Yes. Yes, I understand. Yes. And that's all.
No, not with a real fire. Strings in unison. Ostinato on A, like this. Next measure is rising. You have it?
Yes,
Show
I think
me.
so. It's wonderful.
And underneath, just violins, arpeggios. Descending scale in eighth notes, and then back to the ostinato again, and that's it. Do you have it?
Go too fast.
Do you have it?
Go too fast. 1 moment, please. 1 moment. Yes.
Good.
Well, that's a beautiful moment because here we are celebrating creativity in music, and I just appreciate that. We have a worldwide cinema, particularly the American cinema, that is dedicated to celebrating car bumpers and screeching tires and, prepubescent girls and lecherous guys, and that's what. And now here is a movie celebrating art.
And that scene that we just saw is one of the very best scenes in the picture because lesser actors, lesser directors, and a lesser screenplay would have kept those two people rigidly in the characters they had played all along. In other words, Mozart would have been still the impetuous kid on his deathbed. Salieri still would have been grinding his teeth. What you have there are two craftsmen at work. They're so caught up in the composition that for a moment all their personalities are set aside and it's what works here, what's going to come next, how can we get this down? And it's really exciting to see them working on it.
It's exciting to see art triumph and art grow out of competition. Coming up next at the movies are individual picks of the worst, most undeserved nominations of the year.
And now we come to our own little category, and if we could pick the Oscars, we would like to pick a couple of nominees that we think shouldn't have been picked. We have looked through more than 100 nominations in 20 different categories, and we have chosen those nominations that we think are the least deserving. And I have Gene's envelope here. This is
the most undeserved nomination.
Okay, and you think it is the screenplay for Beverly Hills Cop.
I know it is the screenplay for Beverly Hills Cop. I'm astounded that the script of Beverly Hills Cop was nominated. Most everyone knows the story of how this script was kicked around for years in Hollywood, first as a project for Sylvester Stallone and then as a vehicle for Eddie Murphy. And most of the best parts of this huge hit were improvised by Eddie Murphy right on the set. And he isn't one of the writers nominated for this script, so I don't know how the other people were nominated. And as for the basic format of this script, think about it. This movie, to me, is just one big joke repeated over and over. Smart Eddie Murphy, dumb Beverly Hills police.
Can I help you? Are you the supervisor here? Yes, who are you?
I'm Inspector Rafford of United States Customs Service.
Has all this stuff passed through customs already? No, this is the bonded area. Well, then tell me something. Answer a question for me. How can a black man, dressed like me, just march into your warehouse, walk into the bonded area, and start poking around without anyone asking me any questions whatsoever? Well, I don't know. Well, thank you. That's the answer I was looking for. Why don't you guys just give me your ID numbers, because somebody's going to lose their job behind this. This guy gave me a match, for Christ's sake. You gave him a match? Listen to me. I do security checks all over the nation. And with the exception of Cleveland, this place has the worst security in the nation. Now, I suggest you guys call your wives, because we're going to be here all night. We're going to check the background of each and every crate in this section, starting with this one right here.
So there it is, smart Eddie Murphy, and isn't everyone else dumb? I mean, that's not a script. That's a one-sentence idea.
I'll tell you one way they could have deserved their nomination, and that would have been by rewriting the screenplay to make it appropriate for Eddie Murphy.
Good point.
This character, as written, is not even particularly a black guy. He's just a Detroit cop. Now, you can say, gee, that's wonderful, the script is colorblind. Eddie Murphy plays it exactly as he is, and to the degree that he brings a lot of smarts to the party, he makes this movie a lot better than the screenplay, which is totally routine TV
And you can
sitcom.
see that it's made for somebody else because it ends in an action fight at the end, which Stallone would have done better probably than Eddie Murphy does.
Absolutely right. Why don't you see what my nomination is for the most undeserved
maybe it's the same.
Oscar nominee of the year.
No? Oh, this is going to be controversial. You go all the way to the top. For Best Picture, you don't think A Soldier's Story deserved its nomination as one of the year's 5 best.
That's right. My feeling in this category is that A Soldier's Story should not have been nominated for Best Picture, and that makes sense from my point of view, since I didn't even give this movie a thumbs up when we first reviewed it on our program. I agree with you that Adolph Caesar's performance was brilliant. I think it was a fabulous performance, but the very greatness of his work helps me to explain what I think is the basic flaw in this film. This movie is really about the Adolph Caesar character, and it fatally undermines itself by trying to force another subject on us, and that's the relationship between those two Army captains, one black and one white. Now, here's a scene with the two of them, played by Howard Rollins Jr. and Dennis Lipscomb.
Have you seen my orders, Captain? Yes, as soon as Colonel Nibbins received them. Look, I think it only fair to tell you that had I known you'd be a Negro, I would have requested the immediate suspension of the investigation. Now look, may I speak freely? You haven't stopped yet. Look, these local people aren't going to charge a white man in this parish on your say-so. Now, Nibbins knows that. He doesn't give a damn about this killing, and your being here proves it. Now, they're making a fool out of you. Can't you sit? Will you take off those damn sunglasses?
I like these. They're like MacArthur's.
A Soldier's Story is structured as a series of flashbacks triggered by the relationship between those two men. But frankly, I didn't care about their relationship. It's utterly predictable that they're going to start out suspicious and learn to respect each other by the end of the film. No surprises there. What was fascinating in A Soldier's Story was Adolph Caesar's feisty little sergeant and his feelings about being black. And by trying to be a movie with two different conflicting centers of attention, A Soldier's Story developed, I think, a serious flaw and shouldn't have been nominated as one of the year's best pictures, although it would have had a chance if they'd done it the other way around.
I think that you picked a weakness of the film. I like the film a little bit, but certainly I don't think it belongs in the top 5. I mean, one of the films that was overlooked for me for Best Picture of the Year was the long version of Once Upon a Time in America. I can think of a lot of films that are better than A Soldier's Story.
Yeah, well, I would have also mentioned Paris, Texas as a possibility, too.
But unfortunately, we don't have a ballot. We could name lots of films.
Maybe it's just as well we don't have a ballot.
No,
what do you think?
No, I know what you think. You think we deserve one, and we deserve it more than these people. You know what a lot of these actors and directors do? They give it to their husbands, their wives, their secretaries. You fill it out.
Their garage mechanics to fill it out, right?
Yeah.
Why don't they give a ballot to their friendly neighborhood film critic to fill out? Now, that's a good idea.
That's a great idea. So much for our choice for the Oscars if we had a ballot. And boy, we're pitching for one. Unfortunately, we don't, but 4,000 other people do, and we'll have to tune in with you March 25th to see how they voted. And until then, we'll see you at the movies.
Hertz, if you're going to Florida, California, or Hawaii, why not get a low Ultra Saver rate and the reliability Hertz is known for? Diet Shasta now with the great taste of NutraSweet with 18 fabulous flavors. Even the toughest critics say, I want to pop Diet Shasta. Castlegate insulated steel door, the look of handcrafted wood and a rugged energy-saving entry door by Castlegate division of USG Industries.